Check out Paddy Power's new and exclusive Cash Card Plus. Available to use online, at ATMs, or even down the local. Paddy Power, you beauty.
Hello and welcome to the Monday Postcast. I'm Maddie Playle and this week I'm joined by Brendan Duke, David Baxter and Tom Nugent. I've been abandoned on the sofa. There's no one here with me. So we're just going to crack on straight on with it. We've had a classic weekend in Ireland, obviously fantastic, with both Churchill and Winter doing the double-double. And we've got obviously the Oaks and the Derby coming up this weekend in England. Let's start with the Derby. We'll get straight into it. Can we have any betting? Tom Nugent, please.
You can indeed. So at the top of it, it's Cliffs of Moher and Cracksman, both at 4-1. Eminent is next in at 7-1. Capri 10s alongside Best Solution 12-1. It's Venice Beach and Permian 14-1 bar.
Okie dokie. David, let's go straight across to you. Can you give us your Derby 1, 2, 3 with some reasoning, please?
No pressure.
It's an easy thing to do.
Yeah, easy. Okay, well, the trials haven't, sort of been widely discussed. They haven't offered much in terms of any clarity. The trial I liked the most, actually, was Best Solution at Lingfield.
Really?
Yeah. Just
not sure many people agree with you there.
Well, it was a horse that cleared away. All right, we don't quite know what the substance of the form was, but I did like the way he did it. Going around Lingfield's Hill isn't obviously Epsom's, but it's a start. And
I was going to say, that's a debate in its own right. People have had in the run-up to the Derby this year, isn't it, whether Lingfield makes a difference or not?
Yeah, I know some are saying, obviously people who know a bit more than me, like Willie Carson, are saying no, but, I will stick to my guns on this and go for Best Solution. So I think, just as a bit of a surprise, Best Solution will win, or at least go well. Second, Cracksman, who I do think has good level of form, but when John Gosden's telling you it's a wide open derby and he's not getting drawn into comparisons between Cracksman and Golden Hornets, it says enough to me that Cracksman might be good or even very good, but he's not really superstar material. And then Permian, probably in most years wouldn't be considered for a race like this, but has done nothing more than win races. Won the Dante, That form looks actually pretty good, given that Cracksman was ahead at Epsom in that Derby trial. So, it's worth a roll of the dice this year to supplement a horse like that. So I'll go Best Solution to beat Cracksman to beat Permian.
Right, very interesting, but good to have something a little bit different in there with Best Solution. Brendan, what do we reckon of the Derby?
Well, I mean, it's a mystery wrapped in a riddle, Maddie, isn't it? I mean, you'd want even money to name the favourite, never mind the winner. Well,
probably, yeah. But anyway, give us a shot. Come on, have you got any insight similar to what David gave?
Well, I've had a bet, so I suppose I've parted.
That's a great place to start.
No, I had my bet after the Chester Vase. I was really taken with Venice Beach. And I thought, how can this horse be 16-1? And I backed him at 16-1, and he's still 16-1 . So
getting the value.
Well, I wouldn't think so. It'd probably be a bigger price on the day.
I was being sarcastic.
Oh yes, of course, indeed. Yeah. Poor show. So I've had an anti-post fail and a sense of humour fail there. That's this
killing
Derby.
Two birds with one stone.
This Derby is not going well for me. I was just really impressed with Venice Beach. I thought noticeably. Unlike Cliffs of Moher in the D, he showed really bright gate speed, which is important in the Derby with a big field. Cliffs of Moher fell out of the traps, which could give him some problems. Venice Beach decided not to make the running. They had another horse to do that.
Was it Wings of Eagles or something?
No,
was the other one? So many of them.
I can't remember his name. He's still in the race, though. He's one of the six.
Not the Anvil. I know the Anvil ran in that race, didn't he?
The Anvil is
there
correct. They decided to let the Anvil make the run. But Venice Beach looks a really well-balanced horse, strong stayer, should be able to take a handy position in the race. I just thought 16-1, well, obviously it was too big. And then what else? Well, if I was going for 1, 2, 3, I'd go Venice Beach, Eminent, Cracksman. I thought Eminent would stay. He handled the dip very well in Newmarket. He had no chance the way the Guineas was run. I mean, he looks a strong stayer, and it turned into a sprint. So I'd say he has a chance of hitting the board. And Cracksman, I suppose it depends how literally you take the Permian form, but Permian has clearly improved a bit. But Cracksman's entitled to improve as well. And I suppose he has the bit of star potential himself, and Cliffs of Moher have the bit of star potential in the race. So maybe one of them will step up.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised to see. Like, I know Aidan O'Brien, he's just prolific in these classics, and I think for Venice Beach to have won his trial pretty well, I'm a bit surprised. I am a bit surprised he's as big as he is.
Oh, quite right, Maddie. Yeah, it's Rick. Yes, that's what I thought.
I'm being nicer to you now.
Thank you.
Tom Nugent, we've been through the betting, but can you give us your 1, 2, 3, or is there anything you think could run well at a bigger price?
The only anti-post bet I've had is Rekindling, who was quite disappointing at the last day. But in terms of 1, 2, 3, it wouldn't be too strong in anything. To David's point, I can't understand why people are so kind of negative about Best Solution. I thought he was very good in Lingfield. I think he's a right chance of making the frame. Whether or not he'd win it now is a different story. Obviously, Cracksman has a very, very, very good chance, but is short enough in what looks a wide open derby. And Permian then to tie in with that form could be there. So they'd be probably my 3 at the moment. But it'd be interesting to see what the betting does around Dubai Thunder on the day. There's a lot of hype about him after winning the maiden in Newbury the last day. So it's just a messy market. I wouldn't be a flat expert by any stretch, but I'm starting to see kind of a recurring theme of people being lukewarm about middle distance 3-year-olds every single year pre-derby, and then it just seems to sort itself out afterwards. So hopefully afterwards we'll see some sort of a star. Yeah,
I feel like it's happened a few years now where in the run-up to the derby nothing has really sort of forced its hand in the trials, but we have come out with a decent winner. We had a conversation on the Postcast the other day about how the derby was a dying race, and that was quite an interesting one. But just to finish us off on the derby, I'll give you my 1, 2, 3. I really like Cliffs of Moher. I think he impressed despite the obviously bad prep he had at Chester. And he is Aidan O'Brien's number 1, so I think keep it simple. Eminent, I think a lot of people were impressed with him at Breakfast with the Stars. As I've said, I think Frank will stay really well, and as you guys have been through, the 2,000 Guineas, he was never going to win there. And I think with the worries about Cracksman we've spoken about over the coming weeks, Permian, he's sort of there by default, but at the end of the day, his form keeps getting boosted, and he can't do any more than he already has. So he's sort of in there by default. Right, we'll just go for a quick break now, and then we'll be back.
Introducing Paddy Power's Hot Trot Jackpot, their new free-to-enter horse racing competition. Every Saturday, pick 5 horses in a free Lucky 31 bet for your chance to win the guaranteed £10,000 jackpot. T&Cs apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Hello and welcome back to the Monday Postcast. I'm Maddie Playle, and this week I'm joined by Brendan Duke, David Baxter and Tom Nugent. We've been through the derby, we've given our derby 1, 2, 3s. Now we'll go back to the Oaks. First, let's go over to Tom and get some betting.
Yeah, we're Rhododendron, your even money favourite for the Oaks. Nabel is next in at 9-2. 8-1 Coronet Horseplay at 12s alongside Natavia. Sobetsu is 14-1 and it's 20s bar.
Very, very good. David Baxter, what do you make of the Oaks?
I think it's a bit more straightforward than the Derby in that as much as I don't like to do it in big races where possible, I can't really get past Rhododendron. She's just sort of got the form, the right profile, and I just think she's not nigh on opposable, but I don't see much in behind that I'm getting really excited about. That said, I would offer up one at a decent price. Isabel de Abina.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Also, did she finish behind Horseplay?
Yeah, in the Pretty Polly.
Yeah.
Rafe Beckett's got a great record in the Oaks, and he used the Pretty Polly for Talent in 2013 as the prep. So
well, there's an Oaks winner we all remember.
So there's some parallels there, and just at the prices, I think I saw 25-1 when I last looked. I'd be happy to get on at bats to try to see if she can make the frame.
Right, very interesting. Brendan, what do you make of the Oaks? Is it going to be a cakewalk for Rhododendron?
Yes, I think so. That Guineas form looks ridiculously strong. I mean, Winter's going to win every race she runs in this year. Deban will probably win the Jersey. It's seriously strong form. almost certain to stay. I know the dam was a miler, but she's thrown a couple of middle distance performers.
Her running style and everything about her suggests that she'll stay this trip, doesn't it? I wouldn't have any concerns on that front.
Yeah, in fact, improve for it, probably.
Yes, yeah, I'd agree.
So she doesn't have to improve for it. She'll probably improve for it. You can see why she's around even money. I'd actually say she's probably more likely to win than that.
Really? That's interesting. Have you got a 2 and a 3 to finish behind her?
Oh, okay. Well, I was quite impressed with that horseplay in the Pretty Polly. I can sort of see David's angle, the Rafe angle, but she looks a really strong stayer and a very likeable type. She seems to have a great attitude. So I'll go for her to finish second and Enable to finish third.
Yeah, I liked horseplay. I really liked the way she won the Pretty Polly, but I just thought maybe this will be a bit too soon for her. Okay. I'm not sure about that. Right, Tom Nugent, have you given us your 1, 2, 3?
Well, the only pointer I'd take out of this was I was in the car yesterday and Ryan Moore was interviewed after Winter 1 and he was asked, would you, given the chance, if you could go back tomorrow, would you have ridden Winter in Newmarket? And he said, to be honest with you, I would have ridden. He said he would have stuck with Rhododendron and he would have ridden it differently.
I heard that. Yeah, he really was keen to ride the race again, wasn't he?
So obviously, given how good we now know Winter looks, Rhododendron must be a cut above. And if Ryan Moore saying she's better, she must be. So if she stays, she wins. Sobetsu could run to the frame. She won a Group 1 in France. And I wouldn't be too sure about the rest of them, to be honest. Sobetsu might each way one.
Yeah, I think she'll want plenty of cut in the ground, won't she, Sobetsu? In terms of my 1, 2, 3, I agree with all of you guys, which is pretty rare if you watch these podcasts. Usually I'm being torn to shreds for tipping something that's about 500 to 1. Rhododendron, I think she looks very solid. She's ideal for this. And like you guys have said, she's got the exceptional form in the book. Second, I really like Natavia, who won at Newbury. She looked very professional and balanced there. I mentioned that the other week. And I think Coronet ran a good trial last time and could fill the placings. Just a quick thing to note that I found interesting. We've got the American Raider, Daddy's Little Darling, coming over to run in the Oaks. And I think that's really great for the race. Just gives it another dimension. And it'd be interesting to see how she goes. Personally, I hope Connections, I'm wishing them the best of luck. It'd be great to see her run a big race. Right, we're sticking to Epsom, but let's move on to the Coronation Cup now. Tom, have you got any betting for the Coronation Cup?
I do indeed. We're 5-4 Highland Reel. Journey is next in at 7-2. Idaho is 4-1. Frontiersman is 7s and it's 12-1 bar.
Yeah, so Frontiersman's obviously been supplemented, hasn't he? David, what did you make of the Coronation Cup when you had a look?
It didn't stay on the page long when I had a look, which is a bit of a shame for a Group 1, I know. But it's a race that has never... I know it's got a very good history, but it's never, for some reason for me, it's just never resonated that much. So I did have a little look, and I'm pleased to see Frontiersman's been supplemented. I did Charlie Appleby's stable tour, and since then I've managed to miss about every horse that's won that's come out of there. So for that purpose, I'd probably have to go for Frontiersman. But I got more excited about the Dash, so you can make of that what you will.
Oh, blimey.
Just because I like the spectacle, I like sort of speedy handicappers flying down Epsom.
It is totally unique, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's a great thing that sort of encompasses part of the meeting. And there was a couple that I thought were decent prices because it's always a wide open race and the draw, etc. and luck in running will
go on then, share away. I want these decent prices.
Okay, the 2015 winner, Desert Law. He's 9 years old now and is very hit and miss, but he was definitely on a going day at Musselburgh last time when he hacked up, and he is still feasibly well treated, although you'd have your questions whether he can actually do it again now. But if he could, he's a good price. And El Astronauti has had it as a target for a little while.
Yes.
And John Quinn doesn't waste many bullets, so I'd be pretty keen to be on the right side of that one.
What price can you get about him?
I think I saw about 12s or 14s, and I think Desert Law was a bit bigger at maybe 16s or 20s. Okay,
interesting. Just to go back to Frontiersman quickly, I would have a worry about him at Epsom. He's quite a quirky little customer. You saw that a little bit at Newmarket. And obviously he's got quite a lot to find if these produce their peak form. So I would have a little worry about the track for Frontiersman for me. Brendan Duke, did you have a look at the Coronation Cup, the Dash, or anything at all at Epsom?
I had a quick look at the Coronation Cup, all right. Frontiersman has obviously made a Lazarus-like comeback, because did I read that he was pulled out of York because he had heat in his leg?
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure if he had heat in his leg. Perhaps. Maybe. Maybe it's a whole Thistlecrack escapade again, where they're going to go and get a scan.
Well, no, he must have come good, because everyone's quoted him in the betting. No, perhaps I dreamt that. Curious thing to dream. But anyway, yeah, so Frontiersman is back, but as you say, needs a massive step up. I thought Hawkbill just at the prices. Whether he'll run now, I don't know. This race is a bit up in the air, but there's a bit of rain about today. There's no more rain, I think, for the rest of the week, but they always produce beautiful ground in Epsom. And he just doesn't want the ground. I was very impressed with him at Newbury. Now, the race was a funny race, because the Dreamboat was never going a yard, and then
I think he lives up to his name, doesn't he? My Dream Boat, a little bit. I hate to say it, but he just strikes me as a horse that's just very slow these days.
Quite possibly. It might have been a poor race, but I mean, he is an Eclipse winner. He's 12-1, and he put that race to bed a long way out in Newbury. He was much the best in what might have been a poor race, granted, but I thought he was slightly interesting at a double figure price.
No, I agree. I do definitely agree. Tom Nugent, have you got any angles to give us on Epsom this weekend?
Hawkbill was done for me, but Brendan has all the bases covered there as usual.
Okay, I thought Journey was quite interesting. I think she might be one of those that tends to come good towards the end of the season, but the form of her filly and mare's win is exceptional, and she absolutely powered away. So yeah, I think I fell into the trap of backing her first time out last year, and she didn't win. But I think I've just got to give her that chance at the prices. I think she could run really well. Okay.
Not believing Maddie, for all 80s rock fans out there.
Oh, very good. Very good.
You know what? I think that joke has just been said over and over and over again. Ashamed. Right, it's competition time now. Every Monday we give listeners and viewers the chance to win a £25 or €25 free bet courtesy of our sponsors Paddy Power. All you have to do is answering the following question: who won the Irish 1000 Guineas at the Curragh on Sunday? Tweet your answer using the hashtag Postcast, and if your name is drawn from the hat, the free bet will be deposited into your account. If you don't know the answer, join us after the break and you may just find out.
Introducing Paddy Power's Hot Trot Jackpot, their new free-to-enter horse racing competition. Every Saturday, pick 5 horses in a free Lucky 31 bet for your chance to win the guaranteed £10,000 jackpot. T&Cs apply. 18+. Be gambleaware.org.
Right, welcome back to the Monday Postcast. As usual, we've done our looking forward and now we're going to look back. Obviously, as I've previously mentioned, we had Churchill and Winter both doing the double-double. Firstly, what did we make of Churchill in the Irish 2000 Guineas? There was a lot of rain beforehand, but I think he did what we all sort of expected him to do. I wrote a piece the other day where I said he makes you question him about 20 times and then makes you wonder why you even bothered, because he's just so superior. We'll start with you, Tom. Were you at the Curragh on Sunday and Saturday?
Saturday and Sunday, yeah. Got absolutely drowned on Saturday, but Churchill was able to warm the cockles of my heart. Yeah, no, look, he was brilliant. Really, really good. As you mentioned, kind of you're looking for a way to get him beat sometimes before, but he just is class. Hits a little bit of a flat spot and takes a while to get going, but once he does get motoring, he wins it well in the end. We went 4-6 Churchill for the James's Palace afterwards, so the traders were very impressed.
Yeah, I said beforehand that I really rate Thunder Snow. I thought he ran a really good race. The ground came for him and there was none of that antics that he displayed at Kentucky. What did you make of it, David?
It's new Sea of Stars, isn't he?
Really?
Well, just in terms of doesn't ever get you sort of pulse racing in terms of you think, oh, I'm going to see something special here, but he gets the job done and he will keep getting the job done, and it's going to be a long season, I think, before something goes past him. Like you were saying about Thunder Snow, very good horse. Looked like he had him in trouble for all of about 10 yards, and he just swatted him aside. So
yeah, And he did improve very quickly, didn't he? That's what surprised me. You say he sort of hits that flat spot, but even Ryan Moore said he was surprised and he was almost in front for longer than he wanted to be.
Yeah, but I just think he's going to go through the season, whether they might go the route and just have a look at something like the Juddmonte International to see if they'll go to 1 mile and a quarter. And yeah, he's a very, very good horse, and he'll probably be one of those that when the career winds up and we look back, we go, cool, wasn't that one of the sort of best Guineas winners or something we had in the last decade, even though it wasn't visually the most spectacular?
Yeah, I would have my concerns because I think take Thunder Snow out of it, and I probably don't think he beat all that much on Saturday. I think it'd be really interesting to see how he'll compare to the older milers if he does indeed take them on in something like the Sussex. I think Ribchester aside, I'm not sure they're anything great either. So it's a shame that we can't visually see him pull right away from a field, but I think, like you've said, that's what top class horses do, and that's all they have to do at the end of the day. Brendan, what did you make of Churchill?
Oh, well, I mean, he was very impressive. That I don't think he proved anything there that he didn't prove in the 2,000 guineas. That 4 to 6 for the St James's Palace is the worst price of all time. Basically, you can make a legitimate case that the second and third could have won the 2,000 guineas. They're going to reoppose him at Ascot, and you could even have Bramanto thrown in there. Churchill is currently a shorter price for the St James's Palace than Winter is for the Coronation. How in the name of God is that possible? She's a point and shoot job, and he's got at least 2 legitimate rivals. I love Churchill. Like, he's the best looking horse I've ever seen. He's got the heart of a lion, but he's still got to prove he's better than those 2 horses that he beat at Newmarket. Yeah,
that's interesting. I would agree with you there. I think it's going to be a good race to have Barney Roy there with a clear run and hopefully a really good, strong pace to aim at. I think it could be a lot closer than Newmarket, and hopefully there won't be any excuses this time around. We'll move on to Winter. We've mentioned her. Personally, I absolutely love her. I think she's a superstar. What do we make of the Irish 1,000 guineas? I think it probably looked a stronger renewal than the 2,000. Let's start with you, David.
Yeah, I think you've got the right word there straight away with superstar. She is sort of different gravy to what we're going to see in that division all season, I think. And I think Brendan was right when he said point and shoot job. Just line her up, watch her go. She is, not trying to do too many of the nexts or anything. I mean, Aidan's already got Minding, but it looks like he's already got the replacement lined up a year behind, hasn't he? She's just different gear, so.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if she stays in training. I'd love it if she did. I think, to be honest, we're going to do our little Twitter Q&A, and there's a question in there that links into this really well, and I think it should be cracking. But we'll move on to you, Brendan. What did you make of Winter?
Oh, well, I mean, just incredible. I was lucky enough to be there, and it was one of the most inappropriate rolling up of the sleeves I've ever seen. I've never seen a jockey roll his sleeves up before, right? He should have had a pipe and slippers on, because, I mean, about a furlong and a half down, she just pricked her ears and danced away from them. Now, the ground wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be there. It was probably just on the easy side of good, but she's such a beautiful mover. She moves like a ballerina. That even quicker ground in Ascot, that 4 to 5 for the Coronation, 4 to 5 anti-post, but I mean, that is one of the all-time great prices. She's just unbeatable. I actually think, I have a little theory that I concocted on the bus on the way in.
Oh, all bus concocted theories are just absolutely bomb-proof, aren't they?
Well, I do a lot of my best thinking on the upper deck, yeah. So basically, what I think is going to happen is they're going to go, say, Churchill, whether he wins or loses in Ascot, they're going to then go the Giants Causeway route with him and go Eclipse International Irish Champion Stakes, because he has the constitution to take that, and move her to the Sussex. Because
I'd love that.
Well, how any horse is supposed to give her a sex allowance, never mind an age allowance. I mean, she's the best miler in training, in my opinion.
I agree. I probably agree. Yeah, I do. Right, as we've said, Winter, she's very special. I think we all agree that she's got the world at her feet. Tom, is there anything particular that you can add to what we've already said about Winter? Any prices for any obscure races have you got?
I know. Look at she is outstanding. We went 10 to 11 from 5 to 2 for the Coronation about winter after the result, and she's into 4 to 5 now. And as Brendan says, it probably looks a good price too. Yeah, look at she's brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant indeed. Before we move on to the action at Haydock this weekend, just wanted to ask you two, Brendan, I don't know if you were at the Curragh, but I know Tom certainly was, about the experience over the weekend. Obviously, they've had their refurbishments. It's all sort of... it's going on whilst the racing is going on. I know David Jennings from the Racing Post was pretty much outraged, and he wasn't the only one.
No.
What did you make of it, both of you? Let's start with you, Brendan.
Well, I thought perhaps the most telling thing was that the best dressed lady was wearing a hard hat and a high vis jacket. So
I like her style.
That'll tell you all you need to know. Now, you are in a sense asking the wrong man, because all I basically need is a parade ring and a big screen, and I'm happy out. But in terms of customer experience, I asked my mother, who was there yesterday, and she said she's not going back. Because, well, in fairness to people who are sports fans, they do demand a certain level of facilities, and it's very narrow. There's nowhere really to go unless you want to just go to the parade ring like me. And they're going to have the Derby there, so they have 3 days of the Derby, Friday to Sunday, and it's going to be the most interesting advertising campaign of all time, because it's going to be come racing Friday and Saturday. Don't come racing Sunday, because they've no room for them. They can only fit 5,000 people in. And as Tom was saying before the show, I mean, Ascot closed down, Longchamp closed down, but the Curragh can't. I mean, why is it not closed down? Move it to, I don't know. Do they need the 30
I was going to ask, do either of you two know why the decision was made for them to keep it there?
I don't know exactly. Someone told me, and I find this hard to believe, that they wanted the 30 grand at the races give them for each meeting, but we can't be that hard up. The country's back. No. The Tiger's back, so I don't know. I don't know the reason. It's bizarre.
Tom, have you got anything to add to Brendan's very eloquent rant there?
No, look at, obviously the weather didn't help on Saturday. It's a tricky situation. I felt bad for the people working on the ground in the Curragh over the weekend, because there were a lot of people complaining to them, and essentially it wasn't their decision. Somebody's made the decision on high, and it's the people on the ground that are facing the brunt of the complaints. It's not an ideal customer experience, and I'm not 100% sure whether or not the ultimate decision was made with the customer in mind.
Yeah, I used to waitress, and I'm very familiar with being shot as the messenger. So I agree with you. I feel very sorry for the people at the Curragh. Anyway, we'll move on for that now, and maybe go back to it in the Q&A afterwards. We'll talk about Clive Cox, who does so well with these sprinters. He had an amazing day at Haydock on Saturday with Harry Angel, who was absolutely devastating in the Sandy Lane at Haydock. And obviously he won the Temple Stakes with Priceless after winning it with Profitable the year before. We'll talk about the champion, who we think will be champion sprinter this season. Obviously Acapulco didn't run. But first off, have we got any Commonwealth Cup betting, Tom?
We do. Hang on 1 second. Jack
Slacking.
Can edit this so slickly. Commonwealth Cup betting. Caravaggio is our even money favourite. Harry Angel into 100 to 30 now. Blue Point is next in at 11 to 2, and it's 12 to 1 bar.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a strange one, the Commonwealth Cup, isn't it? I'm a bit annoyed because I love both of the horses. I think Caravaggio, I've said on record that I think he's one of the most talented individuals I've seen in a long, long time. But at the start of the season, I heard what Clive Cox was saying about Harry Angel, and I loved him when he won last year. And he proved that he was every bit as good as the hype at the weekend. So it's almost like I love them both. It'll be a great, great race. The Commonwealth Cup, we've mentioned it before on the Monday Postcast, how the sprinting sort of Commonwealth Cup division has impacted breeding and all the rest of it. But it is a very exciting prospect. What do we make of the Commonwealth Cup and the sprinting division in general? David, we've seemed to have not heard from you in a while. Let's go back to you.
Well, that's all right. I mean, the other guys are better qualified to talk about the Curragh when I was sat in Suffolk watching racing on Saturday. So, I think to borrow a boxing phrase for Commonwealth Cup, this could be a right tear-up. It could actually be the race of over the 5 days is the best. Really looking forward to it. I personally will side with Harry Angel over nothing more than Aidan O'Brien already has enough Group 1s in his locker, so let someone else have a chance. But I do love Harry Angel, and I love that win in the Sandy Lane. That was given as well. I know it probably didn't do much to it, the downpours they had there just before racing, but it would have taken a little bit of sting out of the ground. But the way he still managed to win in a course record time, that was seriously good. And I mean, I like Blue Point as well, and I like Caravaggio. I couldn't give you a champion sprinter at this stage because I do think it's tremendously competitive, and it's all the better for racing to have things like that going on at the moment.
Yeah, I think Harry Angel, he still looks quite green, but he's got that raw ability, hasn't he? And you could argue he perhaps beat more than Caravaggio did on his reappearance. And obviously people are bound to see Aidan O'Brien, Ballydoyle and pile in. So maybe Harry Angel, we're underestimating him a little bit, although I know he's got his fans. We will go next to Brendan then.
Yeah, but not a lot to add to what David said. It looks the race of the meeting with the 3 horses, and I suspect whichever one of them wins the Commonwealth Cup will be champion sprinter at the end of the year.
Is there anything that we can find in that Commonwealth Cup that can beat any of those 3? I mean, I would definitely have Caravaggio and Harry Angel ahead of Blue Point. I think he won his race, and obviously Harry Angel had the penalty on reappearance, so
True.
I'd have him ahead of him. But anyone got anything at a bigger price, or do we think it's between those 3?
I mean, the price just popped up on the TV I've got in front of me, and just behind those 3, Lady Aurelia, I believe she goes to the King's Stand, but she is worth mentioning given what she did at the meeting last year. I think I came on record on the podcast before and said I think she wins the Nunthorpe this year. So I'd stick with that. But she's one that, I mean, if she comes back and does what she did in the Queen Mary, I know it's a year later, different opposition. I mean, that was, seriously quick, and she still shouldn't be completely forgotten about given who she's coming over with. So
I agree. I think the thing is with her, I wouldn't want to see her over any further than 5. I think she's an absolute speedball, nothing more. What's the point in stretching her? So there we go. We'll move on to the rest of the weekend action. Did anything catch anybody's eye? I want the darkest horse that you can ever possibly have from the Curragh or from anywhere over racing this weekend. Let's start with you, Brendan. Don't let me down.
This is pretty dark now because this was a 7 furlong handicap in Leopardstown, and I think the ceiling on it was 65.
Oh, so, fantastic!
Okay, right now that's nice and dark. So there's a horse called Yulong Bakui, finished 3rd in that handicap at Leopardstown.
Can you spell that for us? That could provide some comedy.
Okay, Yulong. And then Baokui. I've probably butchered it. It seems like a kind of a Japanese thing. But anyway, it ran against a significant draw and pace bias, finished 3rd, moral winner of the race, probably won't go up, should be winning with a repeat of that performance.
Brilliant. David Baxter.
See, mine was a winner, but because it was away from the TV action more or less, I thought it might be slightly darker. But it's one
you might get away with it.
It's one for the rest of the summer. And it's also got a funny name, so I can spell it out to you. Dalharalild.
Dalharalild, or however you pronounce it.
Grand Cup up at York, and it did so really easily. First time at the trip, looked nicely ahead of the handicapper. I think William Haggis thinks it's a cup horse. The general consensus on the back of that would be that it should be a cup horse for all the summer big races. So I'd be going for that. But I'll give you a jockey, which he's not, you would have heard of him. Gerard Mosse, but it's just
you would have heard of him. I should hope so.
To see him back in Britain, and he's still got it. I mean, when he rode the first winner at Goodwood, he timed it to absolute perfection, and it left the question of did he get it right or did Jamie Spencer get it wrong? Because Jamie was doing his thing of coming off the pace, and he almost got there. It was one of those you could have done it again, and he might well have done.
Did he ride Mr. Lupton at Newmarket?
Yes,
or was I
and that was a superb ride as well.
Fantastic ride, yeah.
And now we're going to see him with this Phoenix Thoroughbreds hookup. He could well be worth just keeping an eye on. I don't think he resonates that much with punters all the time, especially if he sort of turns up on a Thursday evening somewhere riding a 2-year-old or something for this new partnership. So just, keep it in mind that we're lucky to have him come back over this summer, and he could, provide a few nice price winners.
Very lucky indeed. That's an interesting one there. Tom, what about you? What caught your eye?
Few things. The maiden Commander Grigio won in the Curragh over the weekend. I think he's one of the sharpest maiden winners we've had in Ireland so far this term. In behind him on debut was a horse called Port Lions, who I think will definitely win or go very close next time. It could be one to follow throughout the season. The other Brother Bear is going to win the Coventry.
I was hoping someone would mention him.
I thought he was absolutely class. And
I loved him.
The third was in the Gallinule, I think it was, the Group 3. Born to Play, twice raced maiden, pops up in the Group 3. Very, very well punted. And looks like they're going to get paid about a furlong out, but just gets pipped on the post by one of Aidan's. But Born to Play could be one to keep an eye out for.
Very good. I have two. One of them's not much of an eye catcher, but Gordon Lord Byron, he has to have a mention, doesn't he? What a horse, what a legend.
Star, yeah.
Did it on ground that he wouldn't have liked from the front. And I think a lot of people would probably say, he deserves a retirement. But I think a lot of credit deserves to go to Tom Hogan. He's not been a simple horse to train. And
Tom Hogan says he wants to get 20 wins out of him, so he won't be retiring anytime soon.
I know, it's brilliant. But I feel like in the past, he's gone on a winless run and people have said, Tom, put the drink down now, mate. But no, I think it's fantastic. And why not keep him in training?
Absolutely.
And the other mention I wanted to give was to Clemmy, which is Churchill's sister, who finished third in the maiden. She absolutely fell out the stall. She was never really travelling. But she picked up really, really nicely, and she looks an absolute class horse that could go on to do something like her brother is doing at the moment. Right, we'll move on to the Twitter Q&A now, everyone's favourite thing. As always, no one's seen these questions apart from me, so I get to be a massive pain in the backside and annoy people with answers that they can't give me. First off, David Humphreys asked, is the Derby a race/event in a downward spiral? So much commercial breeding for early speed these days. We have touched on this before, but I think it's worth a little bit more conversation. What say you, David Baxter?
Poundlander involved now on the event Friday.
I was just about to say that, yeah, Poundlander buying and it must be going well.
No, I don't necessarily agree that it's on a downward spiral. It still is one of the focal points of the flat season year on year. I mean, the breeding side of it I wouldn't be as hot on, so I wouldn't want to get too far into. I know there is more of an emphasis on speed these days, and we are perhaps seeing less true stayers in that middle distance category. But that said, you touched on it earlier, look at the roll call of winners it still produces. We also seem to get tied up in knots before the race actually comes around, wondering if there's a true star in there.
Yeah, as racing fans, I think in general we're very pessimistic, aren't we? Any chance to have a moan, and we absolutely love it.
Yeah, but then you get the winner and you go, cool, wasn't that a good race? And people there and beyond, our little circle will only care particularly if they're holding the ticket of the name of the horse that wins and they get their money. So I mean, no, I don't think it's in a downward spiral. I think it's one of the races that's always going to be around, and it will continue to capture the imagination.
Fantastic. Does anyone else, I'm going to shout this out for a free-for-all, have any thoughts on that question in particular, or shall we move on?
Oh, I have some serious thoughts on this.
Oh, right, sit back.
Well,
and enjoy.
I don't want to take too long, so do cut me off after 10 minutes.
I'll
Maddie.
try.
But I mean, this is pure recency bias, isn't it? Because this year's Derby doesn't look a great Derby, and last year's Derby was a poor Derby. But let's look back a little bit further. Say the last 10 years.
He's getting his fluid diary out now.
Well, let's do that, because we have Golden Horn beat a certain Jack Hobbs 2 years ago. That was a fair race. Then you have Australia, Camelot, Workforce, Caesar Star, as they say in French, he won it. New Approach, and Authorised. So there's some fairly decent horses in there. Now let's look at
absolutely rubbish, I thought.
Well, let's look at now this obsession with speed, apparently. So the two preeminent sires at the moment are Galileo, obviously throws loads of middle-distance horses, and Dubawi throws plenty of middle-distance horses. The two up-and-coming stallions are Caesar Star, a Derby winner who's already had a Derby and an Oaks winner, and Frankel, who should get loads of middle-distance horses because his dam is the only real outlier in that pedigree. She shouldn't have been a sprinter. The pedigree is stamina laden, so he should get. So there should be plenty of middle distance horses coming on stream. And then if we could briefly go back to
Make it brief.
Okay, briefly go back to the mid-90s, Maddie, when there was in the space of 6 years.
I would have been about 3 or 4.
Well, indeed,
mid-90s.
If we were postcasting then, we would have mentioned such equine non-luminaries as Airhab, Shamit, Benny the Dip, High Rise and Oath, 5 of the 6 years, and everyone would have been wringing their hands as well. Absolute rubbish.
Right, okay. I think that's been given a comprehensive answer. Elliot Ward asks, who is more special, Churchill or Winter? I'm going to jump straight in there and say Winter. I love a horse to be visually impressive, and I think she is, and potentially she's beating a lot more, and we've already really covered it. David, do you have anything to add? Do you think Churchill is better than Winter?
Not on what we've seen so far. You can't. It's a tricky argument to make, so no, I will not stick my neck out.
Okay, Brendan, Tom, any thoughts?
Well, I don't think anything can give her a sex allowance, basically. That's the important thing to remember.
Right, okay. Andrew Morris quickly said, I don't know why he's asking you in particular, David, but he wants an under-the-radar 2-year-old. Have you got one for him?
Yeah, he's asking me because I posit myself as someone who is a 2-year-old judge.
I've done my research here, haven't I?
Juvenile Judge column comes out fortnightly, next edition tomorrow, just as a shameless self-plug. An under-the-radar one. Well, I don't know how far under the radar it will be because it did absolutely hose up, but given it happened at Catterick on a Thursday, I think if it did turn up at Royal Ascot, people might not necessarily get hold of it. I'm just padding because I'm trying to find the name of the horse.
I can ask another question really, really quickly whilst you try and find it.
I'll get it in about 2 secs.
I'm going to ask this to Brendan because I think it would be quite a funny answer. Paul Keeley says, how do I get out of this blank before Royal Ascot? And he means absolute rubbish, dismal. He's had an absolute mare. Brendan, what do you suggest for Keels?
Well, I mean, I unfortunately, I'm going to have to get all mentory on him as opposed to comic, because he should remember what Kevin Pullen would say. The boy Keely's been getting paid for the last 10 years, so don't do anything different. It's just variance. It's just variance.
Fantastic. Before we go, David, have you managed to find out what the 2-year-old's called?
Rebel Assault.
Absolutely fantastic. Right, we'll leave it there. Goodbye, Brendan, David and Tom. Thanks for a fantastic Monday Postcast, and we'll see you next week.
Paddy Power stream all UK and Irish racing live on your mobile, tablet or PC. Unlike some other high street bookies, Paddy Power, you beauty!